Hello and welcome to a new scenario of Wing Leader Eagles 1943 to 45 by GMT lead Brimacombe Wood designer. I know that I originally, when we were doing this set of playthroughs, I was going to do a kind of mini campaign on Operation Meridian, as there were three scenarios in the Wing Leader Eagles expansion. Operation Meridian Counterattack, Operation Meridian 1 and Meridian 2, and we've already done Counterattack on 1. So the other next replay was going to be 2. However, looking at it, it's kind of a replay of 1 with slightly different circumstances and the Japanese being beefed up a bit. So I kind of thought if I'm going to do playthroughs of Wing Leader Eagles, maybe I should vary it a little. So I'm not going to do Operation Meridian 2, but I'm going to do a different scenario. Now this is scenario E04, which is known as Schlachtflieger, which apparently is German for ground attack aircraft. This is the scenario in front of us. It's 1943 in the Ukraine, and there is an attack, bombing and strafing attack by the Luftwaffe onto some Soviet formations. And of course the Soviets have got some fighter intercepts trying to stop them. So why particularly this one? Well, firstly, it gets away from the British and the Japanese, or British with American planes and Japanese. So it varies the kind of planes we're looking at here. Also, there are different things on some of the aircraft we've got. On the German side, we've got Focke-Wulf 190s, which have air-to-ground rockets. We also have HS-129s, the ground attack aircraft as well in this. And of course we have Soviet fighters, which we haven't seen before either. Yeah, just to go through what we have here. So the left side here is the German side of the map, and of course the Soviet side over here. We have the targets such as they are. They are 2 tank targets, a light flak unit, and then some troops as well. So those are the targets there. And what is attacking them at the moment, what we have over here, is we have 4 BF-109Gs, so that's the ME-109s. All 4 of them are flights, but they are all veteran, coming in on a sweep mission across the board to then allow bombing to happen onto these targets. We just have the first of these strike packages here. Over here we have 2 squadrons of Junkers 87 D3s, Stukas, to come in and do dive bombing. We will have 2 more coming in. So on turn 1 we have the Henschel 129s here, which have an anti-tank gun practically built into the aircraft there, which is going to go after the tanks, and they have an air-to-ground capability for that. And also behind them, there also is some Focke-Wulf 190Fs with those air-to-ground rockets as well. So a bit of nice variation here, lots of things going on. Only these 4 flights are the escort/sweep on the German side here, but they are all veterans, and 3 of them also have experter as well. So they're pretty tough things. So what are they facing? Well, over here we have, it's a real mixed bag actually. So we have 3 Lavochkin La-5FNs here, 2 of them green, which are very, very good at low level interceptors, coming in to intercept their vectors are over here. And with them there is a Yak-3 here, which is on the same radio net as this P-39Q, and that's quite a special fighter actually, because it's the veteran and expert, has to be declared as such as part of the scenario rules. So that's your your expert unit there. So these are all coming on. You might have noticed these little cubes, coloured cubes. So there were a lot of different groups here. So what I wanted to do was to mark what radio nets each of the groups were about, so which could talk to each other. So looking here, we've got these LA5s which can talk to each other. The Yak3 and the P39 unit can also talk together. And if we're coming back to on this side, we have the red markers here, showing the MA109s can talk to each other. The wing displays shuffled up in the corner there, those are the reinforcements. So we have the HS129s and then also the Focke-Wulf 190 F8s, and those have their own radio net, hence they're green. And then up here we have an La-5FN veteran flight, which comes on quite a lot later than the others, which is on the same radio net as these Lavochkins here. And then up here we have two Yak-9 squadrons, which again have their own radio net. So that's what the coloured markers mean. It's just for me to keep track, and hopefully you'll be able to appreciate what's going on with those there as well. The counters are actually off a Terraforming Mars copy I have, which I have used some of the counters for before. But there we go. So that's our setup per se, and we have there are some clouds, of course, you can see here. So there's some wispy clouds at this level, these two and these two, and then we have two sets of broken clouds. So broken clouds are a two DRM hindrance, and the wispies, of course, one, like the last scenario, are there. Okay. So the only other thing here that is particularly special is that the air data card for the Henschel 129s, they have a 2 victory point award there for shooting down one of them. In this scenario, it's been dropped to 1, so all aircraft are 1 victory point on losses. Some interesting things to look at on the air data card, so I might zoom in here and show that. So looking across the line here, no particular order, just how I place them. So we have the P39Q here, which is that special expert and veteran squadron here, and as you can see, it's pretty good on speed value 0 to 5. So what you'll find is a lot of the Soviet fighters are very good at low level, very good performance, but they suffer at the high level. And the other thing to note is, however, that there's a firepower 2, which is fine. There's a protection of 5, so it's quite a tough thing as well on there. Just moving across to the Yak-3. Now, reading for the air data cards, the Yak-3 was the uprated version of the Yak-1, as you'd expect. And as you see again at the low level, pretty good statistics here, 7s here, but the protection's only 4, so it's not a tough aircraft, it's rather a light aircraft. And it seems to show that the later Soviet models actually made the aircraft made a lot lighter to then make them faster and more manoeuvrable. Then we move on to the Henschel 129 here, and two things to note here. One is the 80 gun 4 value, so it has a firepower of 4 when strafing tanks, and also it has a protection of 5-6, so that's again a really tough unit there on its protection. Then next we have the good old Stuka here, which just can't quite see it, but the bomb rating here of 24 is pretty good, but it is quite weak. 0 firepower, 0 defense, and its protection is only a 4, so you want to keep those safe, and they've got dive brakes, of course. The Focke-Wulf 190 F, which is actually the same as this data card. As you'd expect, very good statistics on it, 4 to 5 protection, and a firepower of 3. However, it does have an air-to-ground rating of 10 when it's in its F version, so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good variant on what you're seeing on this card at the moment. So you can imagine there's an ATGR 10 put there as well. So really good aircraft. The ME-109 here, again, very good on the speed and turn, and only a firepower of 1 though. It's interesting, and a protection of 4. So really quite a lot more vulnerable than the FW-190s in combat. The Yak-9, which isn't actually that related to the Yak-3 we saw before. Yak-9 is from a Yak-7, and the Yak-7 was a variant of the Yak-1. As you can keep up with all the different Yaks. And as you can see, this is actually quite an extreme speed and turn set of values here. So it is really low level, 0 to 3. Where it has its best performance, and 12 and above, it's very, very ordinary. Firepower 1, protection of 4, so again, quite light. And finally, the Lavochkin here, which most of the Soviet fighters in this scenario are. Again, we see this low-level capability of 7 here, 0 to 5, so a bit more forgiving than Yak-9. Firepower of 2 this time. But still only protection of 4, so quite light fighters they are as well. Right, so that's our set of air data cards. Those are our squadrons and flights we've got. So let's just crack on with turn 1, I think. If you're not familiar with the rules, I suggest you have a look at my initial intro on Meridian counterattack. It went through some of the rules, but additional ones to that I'll be going through as we go through this playthrough. So rather than stack up all the words at the start of this, so right, without further ado, let's look at turn 1. Okay, for turn 1, we have a setup phase to start off with, and we have actually done the stuff for that setup phase, which is the entry of the Henschel 129s here coming in at altitude 2, so they will be moving onto the board as bombers. And that's our setup. They don't use vectors, of course, it's only for intercepts. Right, so having done our setup phase, we're on to the tally phase. Again, everybody's a bit far away from seeing each other. The closest being this BUF-109 to Lavochkin 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. So there's also, that's a little bit too far away for any chance of seeing it, even with the veteran bonus here. So you can't roll better than 6. So there's no point in doing any tally rolls at the moment. And next then is the movement phase. So our usual move order dogfights, which there aren't, and escorts, there aren't. Then we're on to the bombers. So with the bombers, lowest initiative would be the Henschels coming on. So we'll bring those two on. 1, 2, 1, 2. Just so you see, these aircraft here are actually part of the turn sequence. So they're reinforcements as they come on. These are the 2 Yak-9s. This is the 2 Focke-Wulf 190Fs, and this is the Lavochkin flight coming in turn 4. So just ignore those for the moment. I've also got a marker here, GCI marker. So the Russians have a GCI of 5, so I've put it on the 5 spot. That marker is in Eagles. It's really supposed to be used, I think, for the campaign, but I thought it might be good to just put it on the board anyway. We've moved the Henschels here. In fact, they should be in trail. So X is actually here, slightly awkwardly with these reinforcements. I might just take them off here, just so that we can see. see them, and then we move the Stukas forward as well. So moving these two Stukas forward too. That's the bombers done. Next, it's unalerted fighters in initiative order. So because there's a GCI on the Soviet side, they have been alerted. So all their fighters are alerted. All the sweep fighters, the BF-109 Gs are unalerted, so they need to move, and they're sweeping. So the sweeping means they're going 2 hexes straight, 2 squares straight on, and we'll do that now. So N moves forward, then O, then P, then Q, and we can move around the displays as we go on this. O needs to come around here, and I'll do that in a minute. That's all the unalerted fighters. So the alerted fighters are, of course, all the Soviets, and with the Soviets they're following these vectors, pretty much staying on altitude. The Lavochkin here is vectoring to here. The Lavochkin here is L is coming here, and this Lavochkin here is coming to here for that vector. These other vectors are for, of course, for the Yak-3 and the P-39, and of course they're again pretty much with the exception of the P-39, which is coming up to this level, just staying on the altitude, because altitude 6 here seems to be some kind of break, particularly with the Yak-3 and 5 with the Lavochkins. So it's the Yak-9s which are even lower, but they're not on the board yet. So these guys are going to go towards their vector, which is effectively 3 squares on each of them, and so we'll just move them on. Starting with this Lavochkin here, 1, 2, 3. The P-39, 2, 3. This Lavochkin, 1, 2, 3. This Lavochkin, 1, 2, 3. And finally the Yak, 1, 2, 3. Yep. And that's our movement. Do note, of course, we do have a light flak unit here, so we are able to project flak into this area as well, and I think adjacent squares as well. If we want to, sorry, it's this side here. So yeah, it's not anywhere near the fighters at the moment, but we have that to deal with as well. And on administrative phase, whether we want to move any of the vectors, I think is the only thing we need to worry about. But I think they're okay for the moment. I don't think we need to reorganise them. The fighters are effectively going to suddenly crash into each other really here and fight on turn 2. So that's turn 1 done. So we're on to turn 2, and this turn we will be getting the Yak-9s coming in from this side of the board, and I believe it's at altitude 3. Altitude 3. Yeah, on the right map edge. So they'll be coming on at this point here during the movement phase. That's turn 1 done, and normally turn 1s are fairly, as you can see, straightforward in this game. But now let's switch to turn 2. I think we'll do the video combined with these 2 turns. Okay, so here goes turn 2. Setup phase, we have our 2 Yak-9s coming in here, and we need to, of course, place their vectors. And these are the ones that have the best performance at altitude 3. So those 2, I think we will keep those vectors within that area. So I think possibly at the moment, oops, that's the wrong. We will have R and Q. I think we'll probably put them there. I think at the moment that's altitude 3, so they'll just come along through those cloud. I think that's probably the best thing to do for them, and they are of course alerted, and we can bring their wing displays in as well. I'll just reorganise the wing display so that they'll fit in. Okay, so there they are ready to come on. So we move swiftly on to the tally phase. So radar player first, of course. Radar player is the Germans. So we're looking at these Bf-109s attempting to pick up these intercepting fighters here. Just we can afford to zoom in a little bit here. Our 4 fighters here. Most likely, of course, is this Bf-109G spotting this Lavochkin here. We do have another one here, but that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's less likely. 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be able to spot that, but there is the wispy cloud involved as well here, unfortunately. 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 1, 5. So I think what we'll look at is this guy attempting to tally this chap, these two here attempting to tally K. Okay, so we'll start with O. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4. Need greater than the 4, but with it is a veteran, so plus 1 on the dice, and I think that's about it. Yeah, that's all. Oh, by the way, just I didn't mention it in the setup, but the sun is actually coming from above, so straight down on this. Right, so let's roll our tally roll, and we need greater than a 4 with a plus 1. We got a 1, so definitely didn't see it. And here we have Bf-109, Bf-109P here, trying to spot K. 1, 2, 3, 4. Plus 1 for being a veteran, minus 1 for the wispy cloud. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is we need a 5 or a 6 effectively. We had a 4, so just missed. And finally, here are Bf-109G 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So needs a 6, but is a veteran, so only needs a 5 or a 6 as before. A 1, missed again. Okay, so not a lot of vision on the German side. How are we going with the Russian side? So just readjusting here. Looking at the back here, the Yak 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't really see the 109 there yet, so he's out. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This Lavochkin could see the 109G. That's not very likely. As they've got a radio net, I think we will try to spot the fighters with the closest. So here we've got a 1, 2 for this Lavochkin here. K, he's not a green, so there's no modifier here. There's just a 2. And let's see. Just need to check whether he's actually in the sun. So if we look at the sun aspect here, diagram, so above is this blue area here. So if we're direct diagonals, it definitely isn't in the sun, definitely isn't in the sun. It needs to be almost vertical, so there's no sun modifier there. So it's greater than a 2, and possibly it might have been an idea to get this 109 to spot this Lavochkin first, but I thought it would be good to try and spread it around. Never mind, it was a risk, I suppose. And okay, so we need a 3 or more, and we get a 4. So the Lavochkin K spots the 109G here. And its vector changes to a tally onto BF1090. Well, yeah, O. There we go. This does mean that if we want to spot this guy with the other Lavochkins, we now get a bonus. The bonus is a +1, which helps with these green units. So let's go ahead and try and spot with this Lavochkin here. A 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 4. It's green, but the radio net helps. So it is still a 4, so needs a 5 or a 6. It's taking its time, but we got a 2, so no, nothing there. Our other Lavochkin here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would be, it's green, but the GCI helps, so we need a 6 in this instance. Oh, you couldn't see that, sorry. Right, we're talking about this Lavochkin here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to here, needs a 6. Needs a 6, didn't get it, just a 5, so that's no good. And finally, we're on to the, we looked at the yak, didn't we? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, no ability to tally. So we just have one tally, and that's with Lavochkin K with the BF1090G, but not in the reverse. It's interesting. So that's the tally phase sorted, and now we go to the movement phase. So first is, of course, the bombers. So way back here, the bombers are coming on. Our HS-129s move 2 spaces forward. And then, of course, our JU-87 Stukas move 2 forward as well. Getting there slowly, as usual with these bombers. Right, so then it's unalerted fighters. So the 109s move, and again in initiative order, so N will move forward, doing a sweep, so just moves 2 forward. Then comes O, sweeping, so moves 2 forward. Now with the tally, now with the tally, from K can now move, and he's kind of got free movement here, but as the BF-109 is 2 levels above him, it's going to be quite tough for him to climb. The LA5 has a climb of 1 up to level 5, so he can climb 1 level for 1 point, which is quite good. So I think maybe we will do that. So he will climb for 1 point to level 5. If he wants to climb again, it's going to cost him two points. Yeah, I'll give him a climb marker. If I can find one, there we go. Now, he could effectively switch to that orientation and climb again into that hex, and maybe that's a good idea to do. So that's 3 points there, which as an alerted fighter he has. So yeah, maybe that's an idea, just to engage that fighter. However, it is altitude 6, so the Lavochkin's not as good as it is at 5, but it's still pretty good. So yeah, let's do that. So O moving along, and then we have P and Q moving on their sweep. Just thinking about it, there might be a bounce capability here because O is unalerted. We'll need to check that when we get to the combat phase, but that will be the combat and it might count as a bounce, which would be interesting. Okay, so those are the unalerted fighters. Now we're on to the alerted fighters, and at the lowest level, for the lowest initiative, we have our Lavochkin here and the P-39. So just moving that wing display out of the way, we'll go 1, 2, 3. The P-39, 1, 2, 3. And then we move up an altitude. So K moved earlier, so the next highest actually is our reinforcing Yak 9s coming on. So Q comes on 1, 2, 3, and R 1, 2 to there on trail. They come on trail. So those are the Yak 9s coming on. Further initiative here, we have this Lavochkin, who is alert but doesn't have a tally, and he's heading towards his vector. 1, 2, 3. It's to this point. And finally we have the Yak 3 up here, which again is moving towards its vector. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, so that's all the movement here. Right, so that's movement phase done. We're not going to attempt to fire the flak here. Might be able to. Let me just check on that. Yeah, I thought not. So the light flak can fire direct fire, same or adjacent columns up to a altitude of 4. So that's this altitude here. So of course the 109 is too high for it. So yeah, no flak happening. And we're on to the combat phase. Combat phase, we are zeroing in onto this fight here with a climbing Lavochkin versus the 109, which is unsuspected and unalerted. So I believe we do have a bounce situation as the 109 is unalert, and Lavochkin has attacked it. So there are those bonuses to look at. Yeah, I'll just calculate the tables and modifiers for the combat. Okay, so the table values are here. So the BF-109G starts with a 6. It is a flight, so that's -1, but it's also a veteran, so it's +1. And the modifiers for it, it's being bounced, but it does have an expert, so they cancel each other out, so it's just a straight roll. For Lavochkin, it's a 6 at altitude 6, so just one down for that. Also -1 for climbing, so he's just a 5. However, he is bouncing the 109, so he does get a +1 on the dice. So we actually have a +1 for the Germans, -1 for the Soviets, with a +1 on the dice. So if we roll here, let's zoom out a bit and do the rolls for this. So the attack the defense by the Germans, which is on a +1 table with no modifier. We have a 7. A 7 on the +1 modifier is a hit. So that's one hit onto the Lavochkin. Lavochkin coming back is on the -1 table with a +1 on the dice. A 9 goes to a 10, is also a hit. So one hit either side. And let's then look at the losses. So the protection, firepower protection for each, I believe is, so the 109 is a 1 firepower protection 4. The Lavochkin is a 2 firepower protection 4. So the losses for the Lavochkin would be a dice +1 for the firepower, and +1 for the German expert, so +2 on the dice, and the protection is a 4. That's definitely a hit. So we'll put a loss marker onto K. K, actually the display is way down here. That's not the Lavochkin we're talking about here. It's actually here. So we put that loss marker down. And again, on the Soviet side, so firepower 2, no expert, but it's +2 again. So it's the same roll against protection 4. And it's a hit as well. So 1 loss each. And let's move on to the cohesion table. So for the Lavochkin, for the Soviet side, 1 loss, and it was the attacking side, so that cancels out. And we need to put ammo markers on, though they don't count this turn, of course, for either side. Yeah, low ammo for each one. So it's just a straight roll, I believe, for the Soviets. They're looking for high as usual. 6 is not high. That is a disrupt. It's a squadron, so therefore it does get a disrupt marker. Apologies about that. The camera just ran out of disk space. So yeah, just to recap. So cohesion check on the Lavochkin, create disruption, and we're just about to do the cohesion roll on the MA109. And it has 1 loss, but it's also a veteran, so again a straight roll here. A 9, that's good. That's no effect. So the attack by Lavochkin didn't have the desired effect, I suppose, which is it's disrupted Lavochkin, but other than causing a loss onto the BF-109, and of course now they have now tallied each other. So the tally for Lavochkin is placed with K. Right, so removing these markers, we are on to the administrative phase. Yeah, just seeing if we need to change any of the vectors. I'm not sure we do. What we want to try and do as the Soviets, I think, is to keep these 109Gs busy. Meanwhile, the P-39 can come across, possibly the Yak-9s, to come and deal with the bombers over here. So as they come through at this level, that's kind of the idea. Given that, I'm wondering, the Lavochkin 5 is got a vector here. We might want to redo his vector to come up to this level, maybe. Yes, we'll try that. So a GCI of 5 is not brilliant though, so we effectively need a 6. I think it's a 6 or a 5 or a 6 to change the vector. Yeah, so it's greater than or equal to, so GCI of 5 means a 5 or a 6 will do, so we'll try and do that. We get a 2, so that doesn't occur. I don't think we need to particularly look at any of the others. So yeah, I think we're fine as it is. So that's the end of turn 2, and we're on to turn 3. At turn 3, we'll see the arrival of the Focke-Wulf 190 ground attack aircraft coming on from that edge, and I think probably a hell of a lot of scrapping in this area just above the targets between the interceptors and the sweeping BF-109 flights. So anyway, hope to see you again on turn 3, but just for now, thanks for watching.